Leave your comments on the Ask Reddit sub, and I'll read your answers on the next episode of LWIAR 2. Suicide Prevention Megathread. With the news today of the passing of the amazing Anthony Bourdain and the also the very talented Kate Spade a couple of days ago, we decided to create a megathread about suicide prevention. So many great and talented people have left the world by way of suicide. Not just those are famous, but friends and family members of everyday people. That's why we would like to use this thread for those that have been affected by the suicide of someone to tell your story, or if you yourself have almost ended your life. Tell us about what changed. If you are currently feeling suicidal, we'd like to offer some resources that might be beneficial. www.iasp.info, www.befriendus.org has global resources and hotlines. www.suicidepreventionlifeline.org, www.samaritans.org UK, www.lifeline.org.au, www.crisistextline.org, www.nami.org, www.thetrevorproject.org, youthspace.ca, www.veteranscrisisline.net. Please be respectful and remember the human while participating in this thread, and thank you to everyone that chooses to share their stories. The AskReddit moderators. A person from my past reaching out to me, even for 5 minutes, does exceptionally more for my mental well-being than seeing 10,000 Redditors spam the numbers for different suicide prevention hotlines. Please reach out to the people in your life. You can keep it as light as you want. We're social creatures, and even limited interaction goes a very long way. I came here to say this. Thinking of your friend from high school? Send them a Facebook message and let them know they're on your mind. Hear about an old colleague that got a promotion or new job? Send them a text and say congratulations. Looking through your photos or videos from forever ago? Send one to that old friend with some well wishes. I've had a moment like this when I was in my darkest place, and it really was a ray of light. I just want you to know that because of this particular comment, I reached out to my best friend from grade school that I haven't talked to in years. And now we're getting together next Saturday. I love the internet. My brother committed suicide when I was 8. He was 15. My dad has been abusive, but my brother suffered the most from him. He was my hero. I looked up to him and wanted to be like him. He'd take a fall for me when I did something that would cause my dad to punish me. I remember that morning vividly. I got back from school the previous day and went to go hang out with him in his room, but his door was locked. I kept coming back, but he wouldn't answer the door. My parents weren't worried because my brother usually kept to himself like that. When it was time for bed, I told my dad to see if he could get the door open, and he told me not to bother my brother again. After my brother didn't come down for breakfast, my father broke his door and we found him hanging from the ceiling. I wish I didn't see that. I screamed the entire time and wouldn't let go of his hand. It felt cold and my mother had to peel me away. He left a suicide note and a handwritten will. He left me his favorite book. I miss you, Jeff. Edit. Thank you so much everyone for the love. Edit 2. My dad kept repeating, "Why, Jeffrey? Why?" and tried to get to him down from the fan. I was screaming, "Please, Jeff," and pulling his hand, and when my mom couldn't separate our hands, she pulled me away. She was crying so hard. I remember kicking my legs in the air and screaming, "You should have opened his door for me." Edit 3. The book is Animal Farm by George Orwell. I always carry it with me now. Whenever he'd read it to me, I'd make fun of how the big words sounded funny and we'd laugh. There wasn't much in his will. He left me the book and his Game Boy. He left my mom his wristwatch. My dad didn't get anything in the will. Edit 4. Wow, I woke up to a ton of supportive messages and so much love. Thank you for all your kind words. I've never spoken about the details before, and I pray this helps someone who is struggling. To all the Jeffs, I know it's hard, but please be strong. You don't want to have your family calling your name and you not answering. It's the most painful thing ever. For years I had nightmares of trying to save him, but each time I'd get there too late. In his note he said he was really sorry and didn't mean to hurt any of us, but he just couldn't bear the pain anymore. He said he hoped it would make my dad stop being disappointed in him and called me his best bud in the world. He told my mom he loved her and hoped she'd find the courage he didn't have. Thanks to all the gold X4. This is so raw and makes me glad I didn't kill myself so my parents and sister didn't find my body. Edit. Oh wow. Thank you so much to everyone who reached out and messaged me. Made me smile, and I did not mean to hijack this guy's comment. All of this support is really nice. Thanks for letting me share my story. I'm the mother of a toddler who died of cancer. There is nothing anyone could do to prevent me from killing myself besides listening and being present. I didn't reach out to anyone. Being suicidal means you want to die. No one could have talked me out of it. My family knew I was struggling and they took shifts watching me. They bought me my favorite foods. Watched RuPaul's Drag Race with me for weeks. Seriously. For some reason it was the only thing I could watch. They listened to me cry and didn't try to give me solutions. They just said, I know. We had a code word, potato. If I said potato, that meant that I needed someone to be physically present with me. Quickly. There was always a plan for the next day. Tomorrow we're going to have lunch at that Mexican place. Okay, tomorrow let's look for a special garden marker for Miles. I think that was a big part of it. Having a plan for the next day meant I had to keep going. It's been almost 4 months since my 3-year-old died and I'm still living. That's pretty freaking amazing. I also lost a son named Miles. He was a week old. It was sudden. One day he was healthy, pink, and screaming. The next he was blue and going into cardiac arrest. He would be turning 10 this July 2nd. My only show I can watch was the awful dating show, Next, on MTV. The night he died, my husband, boyfriend at the time, and I sat in a hotel room, because we couldn't possibly go home and face his stuff, and played a cooperative board game all night long. We took breaks to cry and scream, and then kept playing. That stupid game kept me alive. I'm sure of it. I also had to always have a plan for tomorrow. Even if it was just what I was going to have for breakfast, there were days that I would cry so hard. I thought the crying alone would kill me. I had to force myself to stop. Certain I was about to literally die of a broken heart. I'm so sorry for your loss. 4 months is still so fresh. I'm nearly a decade out. And some days I still can't believe I'm a member of this crappy club. Understand that the grief may come in waves. Close together and fierce at first. And then slowing down. Giving some time and space before the next one pummels you. Make sure your support people are still around in case you need to call out potato again. 6 months from now, I can be one of those support people. There is nothing that makes it easier, but time and support can help it be more manageable. Also, talking about him can help. I hated that once he was gone people wanted to pretend he never existed. Frick that. Your son was here, and he was amazing. Talk about him. Much love to you and your Miles. Less than 3. My mom killed herself on April 22nd of this year. My dad found her naked, fallen off the side of the bed, with 3 empty pill bottles, 2 knives, and a razor. She was covered in vomit. The ambulance came, but she was unresponsive. They waited until I arrived to ask if they could stop resuscitation attempts, which they tried to do for over an hour. We went in when they stopped. She was half covered with a sheet. There was a lot of blood and vomit. Her ribs were broken from resuscitation attempts. She was just gone. My dad and I are totally lost. Last December I checked into a psych ward instead of killing myself. Frick depression. I lost my mother to suicide as well on March 10, 2010. I happened to be the one to find her and had a really rough first year without her. I was forcibly checked into a 72-hour hold around Mother's Day that year. My heart goes out to you and your father. You may be lost now, but take it from someone who has been in your shoes. You will not be lost forever. You may wander throughout your life because pain like this does not go away, but you will not remain lost. Frick depression and keep talking about it. Less than 3. Off topic. Is it normal to break ribs while resuscitation? I'd say it's abnormal not to. I attempted suicide at 19. I think the hardest thing for non-suicidal people to understand is that a lot of suicidal people don't want to kill themselves. They just want to stop existing. Actually going through the steps of writing a note and taking the pills was extremely difficult, and all I kept thinking the whole time was that it would be so much easier if I could just fall asleep and never wake up. It was scary to think that I was potentially killing myself, whereas a death I couldn't control or had less control over would just happen. Then there's everyone and everything else to consider. I also have caught myself wishing many times that the whole world would end so that I could stop existing, but then neither myself nor my loved ones would have to deal with the pain or miss out on a good life. I found those things really hard to articulate at 19. It's how a lot of depressed people feel. Saw this posted in another thread about Bourdain, and I thought it echoes what you're saying here. The so-called psychotically depressed person who tries to kill herself doesn't do so out of, quote, hopelessness, or any abstract conviction that life's assets and debits do not square. And surely not because death seems suddenly appealing. The person in whom its invisible agony reaches a certain unendurable level will kill herself the same way a trapped person will eventually jump from the window of a burning high-rise. Make no mistake about people who leap from burning windows. Their terror of falling from a great height is still just as great as it would be for you or me. Standing speculatively at the same window just checking out the view, i.e. the fear of falling, remains a constant. The variable here is the other terror, the fire's flames. When the flames get close enough, falling to death becomes the slightly less terrible of two terrors. It's not desiring the fall, it's terror of the flames. And yet nobody down on the sidewalk, looking up and yelling, "Don't," and "Hang on," single quote, can understand the jump. Not really. You'd have to have personally been trapped and felt flames to really understand a terror way beyond falling. David Foster Wallace. Depression is a scary thing. I hope you're doing better now. And it's great that you can candidly speak about your struggles. I wish this was up last week. A very close friend of mine committed suicide in the second. She was only 19 and could light up a room when she came in. The worst thing is feeling like I could have stopped her. After work the day before, she asked me if I wanted to go out. I didn't because I was tired and had to clean. My heart hurts. Her memorial was yesterday. It's still such a raw wound. I'm sorry I had to get this off my chest. Edit. Thank you all who've messaged me or replied with support and their own experiences. I know logically it wasn't my fault, but emotionally it hurts. I'm slowly starting to accept what happened, but it will be a while before I'll be back to normal. Also to the butthead that messaged me and told me it was my fault. Go frick yourself. I hope you know it is not your fault. What an awful thing you have to go through right now. Please take special care of yourself at this time. I'm so sorry for your loss. It's not your fault. By the way, I wish there was a suicide chat line and not a hotline. I don't like speaking out loud to a person about any issues I might be having. There is suicidepreventionlifeline.org. I mean, if you use a VPN, they aren't going to send an ambulance to South Africa. In 2012 I lost pretty much everything. My job, my wife, my friends, and I had alienated my family. I got close one time. Everything was ready, except I didn't know what to do for my cats. I had to make sure they were cared for. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that they need me. No one else would love them like I do. Those little fuzzballs need me. Now, anytime I'm feeling down I just go hug my cats and remember that I never truly attempted, even when I was alone and in the worst place I've ever been in. Because my fuzzy guy needed me. And he didn't care that I was a freaking mess. He loved me when I didn't love myself. But I loved him. I miss you, Guillaume. Thank you for being my sweet little purring rock. Cat tax. Imager.com, 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 Imager.com. Edit. I have created a new post on our cats for additional Guillaume pics and videos if anyone is still interested. www.reddit.com. Bourdain's death really bothers me for a specific reason. I think, like many people my age, I struggle with trying to find a vocation that gives me happiness. We're millennials, and we were raised with the idea that we could do whatever we wanted. So when reality hit like a truck, and we found ourselves working the same boring job that 99 and 37 of us were going to get, we found ourselves perpetually unsatisfied with our lives. That's why so many of us struggle with depression. What I hear often is that the true way to happiness is to explore the world, to see culture, to meet people, and to grow that way as a person. That was literally Anthony Bourdain's job. He got paid millions to travel the world, to see culture, to meet people, and to grow, and he killed himself. So what hope does that give to the rest of us? I guess take solace in learning that having all those nice things doesn't make your personal issues and the base human experience of dread that we all have go away. Therefore relieve yourself of the extra burden of the unhealthy belief that you're worse off for not having them. Thank you, kind person who gave gold. Take care of yourselves out there. I work at Poison Control. One of our main jobs is to provide advice to hospitals caring for patients who have overdosed. I will never forget one teenage girl who took an overdose of Tylenol, and apparently regretted it shortly afterwards but was afraid of telling anyone. She didn't tell anyone until 3 days later. She walked into the ER awake and talking and died waiting for a liver transplant. She left behind a heartbroken family and more friends than she realized she had. If you come to the hospital within a few hours of taking pills, it can be fixed. Don't be afraid to get the help you need. When I was a teenager, I had bad problems with depression and anxiety that led to very self-destructive behavior. There were many times I imagined killing myself, and one night I was set on doing it. Came home drunk and sad and started cutting myself, which was one of my methods for dealing with my emotions. I sat in my bed crying, trying to find the courage to cut deeper and end it. Then my dog Snoopy hopped up on the bed and put his head on my lap. Thanks to him, I realized that I just couldn't do that to him or to my parents and friends. He saved my life that night. The next day I decided to open up to my parents and ask them to help me find some help, which was a huge step forward. Sometimes all it takes is a reminder that someone loves you to help you start trying to love yourself. I'm not sure if it really means anything, but I appreciate everything you do around here. Thank you for sharing your story and for contributing to the community. It does mean a lot. Thank you so much for your kind words. I hope you have a great weekend. I bought a dog. I have a very busy life, so people ask me if I regret having her. Since dogs are all high maintenance, I need to walk her a few times a day, feed her, keep her entertained, clean up after her, remove dog hair from everything including myself with an unending supply of lint rollers. I don't regret it. I got her for one purpose that I won't tell them. Because I'm lonely. Because when I'm at my loneliest, I don't have anyone to turn to. No one to go see. To talk to. Despite my best efforts, I have her because I know if I died, something would miss me. So I can't leave her. I left her at the dog boarding for an extra day after getting back from a work trip. Earlier this week, I found myself calling for her, and she wouldn't come. For the first time in years, I just cried. I missed her. I wanted to sit on the couch and just pet her like she always loves. Fortunately, I could just grab her the next day, but it reminded me how important she is to my mental health. I recently turned down a job that would have required me to move to a place where I would have even less familial and friend support. I would have been traveling most of the year, so I would have to give up my dog. I'm glad I did. I had one friend tell me to absolutely not take the job. He said, if I took it, he gave me 6 months before I jumped off a bridge. I can't say he would be wrong. I used work to redirect my loneliness over the past several years, which ended up making it worse as it alienated me from those that I was close to. And then the company abandoned me, hired someone above me that openly tells people inside and outside of the company that he's trying to fire me. I have the CEO and president behind me, so he can't touch me. They know what I did for the company. My sacrifice, my skill, my dedication and loyalty. I now have much less responsibilities, so I can relax. Now, I'm here, with my dog, trying to decompress from my job, make more friends, actually date girls for the first time in many years of unsuccessfully trying. Things are starting to look better. Here's to better days. Thanks for watching LWIAR 2. The best of all time /AskReddit submissions and comments. If you like this video, check out the original LWIAR channel, and don't forget to like and subscribe.